So, welcome to the Theatres of Dreams Extra Time. This is the podcast from Radio Ulti and Altrincham Community Media, where the red half of Liverpool, the red half of Manchester, and the blue half of Manchester get together for a chinwag about the week of football. Some of the discussion, some of the gossip, and some of the debate. With me, I'm Rod Maxwell, presenter on Radio Ulti, and also present on the Theatre of Dreams podcast as well. But with me is Don Bars from the blue half of Manchester. Good afternoon, Mr. Bars. You're
Good
coming
afternoon.
in Bars HQ, aren't you?
I am indeed, yeah, hiding from the media. Well, except for you lot.
And with me, south of Cheshire, from north of Stoke, is Liverpool fan Mr. Richard Irvine. How are you, Rich?
Yeah, very well. Fresh from a visit, a stadium tour visit with my two children yesterday of Anfield, and also a look at Everton Stadium, which we'll talk about later, maybe.
I saw that. I saw the photographs, and every little lad's dream, isn't it, to go and see a stadium and get a photograph? I think you got a photograph taken at the tunnel, didn't you?
Yeah, nice video at the tunnel. Yeah, Oscar had never been before, so we kept it a secret till we got there. I said we're going actually down to a shipping museum at the docks, but we'll just call and look at the stadium very quickly. And Daddy just needs to go in just to use the loo. So we went in, and I said, "Of course, we're doing the tour." And he was over the moon.
There you go. Brownie points.
We just tried to keep it going. Ruben twigged. He's been before, and I did the same to him last time. So he twigged halfway to Liverpool what we were doing.
Well, the brownie points for Richard, but was there brownie points for our teams at the weekend? Let's start. Well, actually, we'll just start on Saturday, because Dom, your side put all your issues to one side for once, and a resounding 4-0 win and a first-class hat trick against Newcastle. What a game!
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I've got to be honest, got a bit giddy by 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, thinking City are back. Yeah, it all clicked. You know, the new lads came in and did a brilliant job.
Your neighbour?
Yeah, a couple of them actually. You've got Nico and Omar. I like to call them by our first names these days. But
is this Mamouche?
Yeah, they're both around me. But
let me just. What a great name, by the way, Mamouche.
Yeah,
it's just like a perfect name for the fans, isn't it? Some song will come easily out of that.
Yeah. He's a very beautiful
Mamushka. He scores a goal. There you go, City fans. You can have that one for free.
There you go. Thanks for that. Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great performance. Obviously, Marmouche got all the headlines for his hat trick and his movement and his quality. It was great. But Nico made such a difference in the midfield. He was the man of the match, actually. He just ran the game. The only thing, and obviously we got humbled a bit in the week when the levels went back up. The only thing I'd say is Newcastle were actually not at their best, taking nothing away from how well City played.
Shearer was quite damning about them.
Yeah, they were not at it. Joe Linton was missing, and he's an enforcer, isn't he? You know, that lad, a failed striker who's become a brilliant midfielder to stop things happening. They just didn't get close enough to us, so they were very guilty of not competing properly. I think Newcastle they let the fans down a bit there, because they could have had a go at us, and they're a good side, and they ended up, letting us roll them over. So yeah, it was great, and then we all come away pumped up, feeling like we're back on track, and obviously the top four stuff looks better, and then it all went a bit wrong again. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll come on to that. And a Saturday at the King Power, it was a bit like the Late Show with Arsenal. 2 goals from Marino made it 2-0. I mean, actually 81 and 87 minutes. Did anybody see this game at all?
Yeah, watch that one. It was on the telly or one of the channels. I can't remember what. And Arsenal were just, again, it's what you'd expect, without any injuries and a lack of acquisition of a centre forward, which that will cost them. There's no doubt that's going to cost
makeshift them. Striker, but it worked out well.
Yeah, he's a midfielder of some. I mean, you'd argue more of a holding midfielder, and he's gone up front to do a job in the last 10 minutes and got on the end of 2 balls and scored 2 lovely goals. But what we're going to do? They're going to rely on Marino to score for the rest of the season. They're so blunt at the top end of the pitch with these injuries, but actually you can't just blame injuries. They've not recruited well enough as a number 9. So Yeah, it was huffing and puffing, a bit like when Leicester played United in the cup. Though they're all right to a point, just don't have enough quality. They're quite neat and tidy under Rude, and I still think that's a long-term plan.
Me
They
too.
might end up getting relegated, and then they'll regroup under Rude and come back. So they're not.
Yeah.
They don't just haven't got enough in the top end of the pitch really to hurt anyone. It's a bit of a shame, really.
And Moyes kept the Everton bandwagon going with a 2-1 win over Crystal Palace. Beto and Alcaraz here. I mean, it's working for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know, and it's not an easy place to go to at the moment, Crystal Palace, you know, sort of mid-table battle type thing. But you got to say that was fantastic. Then on Sunday, my goodness, Liverpool, let's start there. 2-1 over Wolves. Did you watch this one, Richard?
We were out, but I watched it. I think it was on another channel that I didn't have, or we were out, but I did watch it later. And yeah, gosh, we didn't have a shot on goal in the whole second half. And we were kind of backs against the wall. Just got it over the line because Wolves look dangerous. That Cunha, is it? Looks very skillful.
Player, isn't he?
Yeah, great goal. A Salah type goal actually on the left foot. Yeah, I mean, very, very glad for that whistle to go, put it that way. But like Dom said in the messages, that sometimes you just have to get these over the line to get these to become potential champions.
I mean, on the live on Sky game was Spurs versus Manchester United. I noticed afterwards that the Guardian call it one of the worst games in Premier League history. I think that might have been stretching a little bit, but it wasn't one for the neutral at all. It was a hard watch all round. Did anybody see this game?
Yeah, it was just lack of quality, wasn't it? It wasn't endeavour or effort from either side. You know, they both are where they are. And it was evident, wasn't it? There's a lot of tackling 50-50s, missed passes, short passes, overhit passes, bad decisions, teams devoid of quality and confidence. Yeah, it was just, if you support either of them teams, yeah, you're right, it was a hard watch. It was open, but there was no quality. Either team could have won, really.
Well, I mean, the thing that, from a United point of view, the thing that really struck me was we're finding it hard even to make 5-yard passes at the moment. And there is a real lack of confidence in the team, and you know, we can't buy a goal at the moment. You can't see where one's coming from. I don't know whether I was just being overly optimistic, but I was really disappointed in the game because I thought Tottenham might have turned it on for their home fans. We needed something from the game. I thought it would be, and it was the most atrocious game to watch. It was two sides almost didn't want to lose.
It took the pressure off Ange for sure. I think if he'd lost that game, you know, he would have been. But actually, that's bought him a little bit of time to beat United. And actually, it's put even more pressure on Amorim because I don't know if it's just social media, but there's even rumors and headlines that they're already thinking about potentially the next one. No, surely not.
I honestly believe, and I mean, I honestly believe that when he came in, and because he came in November, he will have got something in the agreement whereby this year is a write-off, essentially. This is a clean sweep because he didn't have a summer with them to do any training. He didn't have a summer with doing a transfer window. I don't believe that he's under threat.
His record is worse than Tag's. So if you can see Moyes coming in and getting some victories in a team that couldn't score a goal, defended well but couldn't score a goal, and now he's suddenly got them firing. You're not telling me that Man United didn't expect Amorim to at least get a bit more positivity than he has. Well, I think they'll be slightly worried because it wasn't meant to go this badly.
Well, it could go a lot worse, and actually, I think there is so much disruption right across the club. I mean, you'll have seen this week the number of sackings. They made a loss. I mean, the asset value is good, is about 7 billion, but their actual operating cash flow is pathetic, and it's costing us with getting rid of the director of football that we got rid of, Ten Hag sacking as well, and the club is hemorrhaging cash. I honestly believe that we're not going to get relegated. Even just talking about that is a nightmare situation. But I think that him coming in November, he didn't want to come in at that time. He wanted to see his season out where he was, and I think that they have forced that through. If he's anyway a negotiator and a smart guy, and I think he is, he would have turned around and said, right, no pressure then to qualify for Europe or Champions League this year, because I haven't got time to actually.
Yeah, but the problem is he's coming as a bit of the tough man, and he's pushed. Rashford's gone to Villa, who looked well. He assisted their goal against Liverpool in the week. He looked quite good, Rashford. And then what you'll have to remind me that Anthony's gone to his old team, is playing really well now. I don't know. Something's not quite right there.
Toxic, isn't it? But that's you could say the players should have tried harder at United, and it's it's easier now they've gone somewhere else. But the clubs they've gone to have got a lighter mood, and United is a giant, an absolute colossus club. So as much as Villa's a big team, it's doing well, and it's never going to have the same pressure that playing for United will. No. So I'm not saying that.
And he's like on a little holiday, isn't he, Rashford? He hasn't been sold to them. He thinks, right, I'm on holiday, experience a new club. The fans will get behind me because they're desperate for success. Got nothing to lose, really.
The shining light of Ahmad being injured now. Is it for the rest of the season? I don't know how long. I mean, against the Tottenham game, that stood out, didn't it? They got chances, but it ends up being somebody like.
Is that the young lad that was scoring a lot?
Yeah, the one who did City in a minute.
And he's out for the rest of the season.
A good while.
Yes.
I can't.
Yes.
Is it Rod the whole season? And he's
out for the whole season. So at the moment we've got he's
that defenders out. Argentinian defenders out.
We've also got this is where my memory lets me down. Manu is out for 6 weeks, I think.
Is he?
So we've had a really bad time, and then I mean there was a lot of criticism of the manager for bringing on Obi in the 91st minute. He got 2 or 3 minutes on the pitch, and he took a lot of criticism for that. But and if you look at the bench, actually, Lindelof was the oldest player. The average age of the bench was about 30 years or something. That's only because Victor Lindelof is about 34. Everybody else are really young. I mean, Amos Fletcher, actually Darren Fletcher's son was on there. They're all young players. Now,
actually, you've just reminded me, Rodney, that he was also criticised post Spurs game for taking all those young academy players, these ones that have obviously got potential because they're on the bench. But he didn't use them, did he?
No, but
he didn't use them.
Yeah, but I think you could look at it two ways, right? You could turn around and say, what is there to lose? Just bang them on, right? But at the same time, it's a toxic environment at the moment. You could kill these lads with the toxicity.
Yeah.
And he's got a balancing act. Now, I'm someone at the moment that I would rather, as long as we're safe this season, I'd rather have him bring in a number of these young lads and play them instead of Casemiro and play them instead of Maguire.
Yeah, but my point is, what is the point of taking 6 to 7 young lads and just get them to sit there in their duffel coats and watch the game while they've probably got excited and thinking, I might get 10 minutes. And none of them got played.
Yeah, but I've just answered your point. Is number one, he didn't have anybody else to bring, right? Because he hasn't had that many other senior players to put it on the bench. And I think he possibly thought not the best environment to bring them in when we're losing so badly, actually. And maybe you could turn around and say, you know what, the guys who are on the pitch who've lost this game, they take the responsibility. They see it through. We're not going to let anybody get away with a substitution. They have to stay on there. And personally, I often think that can be a good tactic, which is you're the lads who've let the team down. You stay on for the 90. Right, you're not going to get taken off. So it's an interesting position, and I think if you could get to a point in the league, I mean, we've got the FA Cup, have we? And we've got Europe now. The Europa. Europa is a serious competition for us. What does he do in terms of starting to form a team that can win that competition?
There's no way. I'll eat my hat. I'll eat my vinyl Vol hat if you win that cup. But remind me, if you win the FA Cup, Dom, does that also does that get you into some? No, is there any extra prize for that Europe wise? Isn't there? There used to be. If you win the FA Cup, doesn't that get you into the UEFA
or the Europa? One of the
Europa. There is a payback, Rodney. If you win the FA Cup, that it gets you into Europe in some way.
So actually, our situation is we've got to make sure we're okay in the league. We don't want to be sliding anymore, and we've got to use those cups to the maximum potential. I think the FA Cup, you've got the Cup Winners' Cup, wouldn't it, or something like that in the old days? But yeah, it was a bad game. It wasn't one for the neutral. It was a really bad game.
Rod, I think it's fair to say, and this isn't having a cheap pop. I just think you're going to finish 15th. You're just going to finish 15th in the league, and United should just own that in the changing room. To say, look, sorry, right now, if Crystal Palace or the only teams that you think United were, Leicester, the bottom three who came up, Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton, probably Wolves, but as Rich said earlier, Wolves can turn up as well and do. I mean, they could go and do a job on anyone when Kuhner's on fire. So they're no mugs. And then there's West Ham, right? They're the only teams where you think that United should comfortably win. And let's be brutally honest, in that FA Cup game against Leicester, it took an offside goal by Maguire in the last minute, and and it's going to be 15th. So you're right. The only way you can try to create some positivity is to have a decent European run. Hopefully keep pushing on in the cup. Winning it, no chance. Absolutely.
I don't think you win either of those competitions. I'm not just saying this because I'm a Liverpool fan, Rodney, but I just don't see with those injuries and the chaos at the moment that you're going to win either of those. So I personally think you'll finish, and I don't see that. I'm not honestly. I think you'll finish, like Dom says, 15th, but not a sniff of Europe or so. You will then have to try and attract more players to that club, knowing that you've got no European football.
But you see, again, I actually think that may not be a bad thing for us at the moment, because what we need to do is bet in. He needs extra time on the training pitch, and you don't get that when you're playing midweek European ties. He's going to have to bet in a new team, and as much as you look at it from a revenue point of view, actually, Europa on a Thursday night, it's a bit of pain, and we.
But how are you going to attract the players that you say that you need?
Well,
because it's Manchester United.
I know that, Richard, but in some ways, then you have to look at your academy, and if a player wants to come and play for you, they come, right? And if they believe in the project, let's use that terrible term, then they come.
Well, you know what is going to be the thing that makes them come, and that is money. And that's the problem. You're going to be in the circle, of just being able to only attract named players or decent players, giving them a fat wage check.
But that's what we've been doing for years.
I know.
And actually it isn't working. I personally, as a fan, I'm fed up with seeing these guns for hire, boots for hire coming, and they have no love for the club. They come in for the paycheck, right? I'm fed up with it. And I'm fed up with only 70%, 80% application on the day. I would rather see a bunch of lads that have come through the academy play play their heart out, maybe not be as technically brilliant, but give you everything. And know that when they come off that pitch, they are busting the gut and they really want to play for the club. And that's where I am at the moment. And I know that every league place is worth £1 million. And right now we are broke, you know, but I you got to look more long term. So I'm coming at this from the point of view of I'm fed up of us going out and buying guns for hire that have no love for the club. I would like to see younger players given a chance and brought through and have a few select transfers for people who want to come. You know, want to come because the manager, want to come because the club. Let's face it, as much as we're shambolic, we're still a big draw for a lot of people. We're still a big club, you know, and therefore it attracts over certain other clubs. So I mean that's where I am. But I mean the amount of debate going on at the moment, the results, the financial results came out last week. We paid a fortune to get rid of Ten Hag. We paid a fortune to get rid of a sporting director guy that came in for 6 months or something. You know, we've made so many mistakes, and Ratcliffe is in the firing line at the moment. And I think in some ways that suits the Glazers, and that's why Ratcliffe was brought in, really, is to take the heat off the Glazers. He's the one getting all the heat. He's trying to run this place like a proper business. And the Glazers haven't for years, really. They've been running it as an investment, not a business, if you like. So it's a mess at the moment. I can't wait to see the season end. But that's not the real story, because we then had midweek, we had Champions League, and let's just go back, because it was all to play for. After the game last week at City's ground, Real Madrid stormed back, of course. But Dom, I didn't get to see this game on Wednesday night. What was it like just watching it?
Well, there's a lot of the media saying it, you know, end of an era, you know, and using all the usual. I mean, I think we've known it's an end of an era before this. I think it was just the sign of the times of change. It's Madrid, right? So Madrid away. Let's remember what we said last week. We got beat 3-2. We give it away in the last 10 minutes. But actually, on the balance of play, we hung on in there and we're winning 2-1 against the run of play at home. So we were hanging on in there. And we did well. But levels, it's all about levels. To play Real Madrid at any time in their ground is the toughest gig in football, right?
Yeah.
To go there with a team that's not quite at it, and various things
with no Haaland.
Yeah, Haaland missing was a big issue, because he obviously tweaked his knee, and you could see that clear on Match of the Day close up.
He looked in pain.
That looked dodgy to me.
And what is the news regarding him being fit for Liverpool, by the way, before you carry on?
And I think the silence is deafening, which tells me there's a problem.
Oh dear.
Right? Yeah, because it's not coming out. And I think it was more of a front on in the week that he was training. I think he was just trying to make sure Madrid didn't know that there was an issue. I really do.
He was on the bench, Tom.
Yeah, but it's because he went to Spain and there's probably nobody else on. He might as well sit on the bench. I think that was a bit of gamesmanship. I think he was never going to play. Right. So I know
he doesn't look like the player that goes down and grimaces and bangs the floor when I think he was thinking of his dad and his knee. I think it all came out, and he looked like something had gone.
His knee. You watch. If you look at the reruns of the end of that game at Newcastle, and he just, you know, he grimaces quick, and he's twisted his knee, and he tried to play for a minute. He did it again. That doesn't look clever. I would not be surprised if it comes out that he's out for a few weeks.
Oh dear.
I mean, it would epitomise where we are. But the Real Madrid thing, yes, him missing, going into that game. Let me just put it into context. When City went with their treble winners, right, which is, let's say, our greatest pinnacle of our team in a given season ever, we went there in that semi-final against an ageing Madrid team, which had Modric and Kroos in the middle, obviously quality, but ageing and didn't have the legs. We turned up with our ultimate gladiator in Rodri on fire and everybody else on fire and Kevin everyone. And we still only drew there 1-1. We beat them 4-0 at home, of course, and that was our moment when it all came together, perfect storm. But we drew 1-1 there. So you never, ever write them off, Madrid. And when they are good, like they are now, with youth in the team, that squad looks beautiful.
I tell you now, it's also Mbappe seems now to be settling in.
Honestly.
Hat trick.
They've now been made favourites for the Champions League, by the way.
You can't argue with it, can you?
Oh, and also, can I just say, I've just had a notification to say that Liverpool have been drawn against PSG in the next round.
Ooh, that's a tough game.
They're on fire. I mean, I still think Liverpool should edge it because of the Anfield advantage. Don't forget that you've got that. Like certain clubs in Europe have that. That's partly why you're so good in Europe, is you've got that great Anfield home advantage that you create and always have done. But look, going to Madrid, giving a goal away in the first minute, and then from there on, let's be blunt. It was almost men against boys. We were chasing shadows. We couldn't get hold of the ball.
And John Stones injured.
Levels. Yeah, John Stones injured. Yeah, but it was just levels. After that point, it was just we never looked like scoring without our main men. You can't go to Madrid with injuries and not on form and expect to get anything other than what happened. And they played very well. And that is our level this season. So we can beat Newcastle 4-0 at a canter, but going to Madrid away on a Wednesday is different gravy, isn't it? So we just accept that we're not at that top level, which has been the case all season. I think it was only blue tinted glasses from me that was going, oh, we could do this. We look like it might come together, but it was only fan bias.
So can I ask this? Where does City need to change, improve, or just change or improve? Where are the key areas?
Yeah, but look, our season isn't over by far. We've got an FA Cup, and I do think now, without being too confident, I think top 4 is more comfortable than it was about a month ago, because your Forests and your other teams, your Chelseas, are all fading in a little bit, and City are just coming on a bit strong, right? So,
however, that might depend on this Haaland injury.
Yeah, but I think with Mamouche, I think honestly in our league, the only team that's currently settled and playing well enough is Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right. So it's levels again. I just think City have got more than enough with or without Haaland to get third. Right. I don't think we'll get beyond that. It's too late.
No.
And we'll still have some daft results where the media will jump on it. But this season will be third. And can we progress in the FA Cup? Could we get anything, right? And hopefully get through the charges, see where we come, and then summer will tell us where City's really at after the charges, right? That's it. But that's the only way to look at it. But at the moment, what do we need? We need to keep rebuilding. Nico was a great addition. Nico and Rodri back, assuming he comes back as the Rodri, because you never know after an injury like that. Is great. That's fantastic, right? That makes your mouth water. If those two,
can you remind me, please, how old Rodri is?
Oh, he's about 27.
Okay, so yeah,
he's got a few years left in him. I mean, really, the only place I think he could go would be Madrid. If you're asking who could make Madrid better, there's only 2 or 3 players in the world right now, who, and that for me is Van Dijk and Salah and Rodri. They're the only 3 that would make that Madrid team better. So, yeah,
imagine. Can you imagine?
I mean, that's how daft it is. Salah could end up there on a free. It won't happen probably, but you know what I mean. That's what happens. Trent will go on a free. They get Mbappe on a free. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But that's the way it is. But I just think we've got to keep adding. Mamouche looks a player. We've got more forward like Savinho's fine. We've got youth. We're just doing it a year late. That's all. We got it wrong. We got it wrong in the summer. We've said it before. And the Kevins and the Bernardos, Walker's done it already and gone. Gundo. You're absolute legends of the club who should all have statues. It's just time. That's all.
Mm-hmm. And this is the hardest thing. This is the hardest thing to do, really, isn't it? Is how you break up a team and how you seed in the right players. And only, not many clubs have got it right over the years, but
we managed it. Yeah, we managed it okay. From the David Silva became Bernardo Silva, and I thought we could never replace David. Yeah. And Vinny went, and we managed to eventually get that right with a Diaz coming in, and and Kev's obviously been the one who's been consistent since about 16. and gone through the whole thing. So I get all that, but we've managed it okay, actually. But what we did was, all of a sudden, we've just played too much football. We've had this debate before. The lads are just absolutely worn out. Bernardo Silva is a top 10 world player, but he doesn't look like it at the moment because he's just tired. It's just, I mean, you can, Jamie Carragher can say this, and all the guys can try to drill into it. They are just done. We've won it 4 times in a row, and that's where I do agree with the City. Other commentators and sports fans will say, we've won it 4 times in a row. Nobody's done that. Only United have done 3 twice.
Yeah.
Liverpool once in the 80s when football was, let's say, a little bit different in terms of numbers of games. I mean, hard, don't get me wrong. So I just think it's just our time. The question really that we've got to move on to is, yes, it's the end of an era. It's one for today, another day. Will this be the demise of City, or is it a rebuilding period for a couple of years? So if you look at the great United Fergie teams and the Liverpool teams, they'll all dip off for a year or two.
Yeah, of
come
course.
back again. Like Liverpool did in the 70s, United did for nearly 20 years under Fergie. We have come back every time so far, but how do we manage it so that we don't end up with, I had a quick check of it, Arsenal, no league title in 20 years. Yeah?
Yeah, it's a long time.
I'm not criticising the Liverpool joke, but 1 in 35, soon to be 2, but 1 in 35. Before that, you were absolutely dominant, of course, where you won something like 7 in 9 in the 70s and stuff. So no one's taken away the Liverpool credentials, but just factually, City 6 in 7, 8 in 13. Can they come again? And what will
is that? How many times you've won the league now? 8 times.
8 in 13. So
yeah, but overall, is it?
We've got a sprinkling of some others from the late 60s. And
no, but so how many times have you won the first division?
Maybe the first division in
the first division or Premier League altogether, like Liverpool, 19.
About 15.
15.
I'm sorry,
that's amazing.
Sorry, take that back. I'm talking nonsense. About 10.
10. Okay.
8 in the era of Abu Dhabi money. Yeah, that's since Mancini.
Yeah.
8 and 6 in 7 and record points and quadruple. So we've set the benchmark has been so high that obviously the media now love the fall off, because it's a great story, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's a great story. If United fell off, what we don't want to do is end up with a United situation where they won all those titles and then they're now 0 out of 11 years.
But I think
we want to avoid.
The difference now between the football setup at Liverpool and City and Arsenal, for example, and now finally coming to Manchester United, is that you have departments where you're not relying on one man or one person to deal with all the football activity. You have longer term strategies. You have football departments, let's call it that. You have football directors and all these types of things. And I think that's all about trying to get longevity and sustainability and consistency so that the manager doesn't become the only part that you're dependent on for success. You build a philosophy, if you like, and I think that's what you've got in City. Liverpool have got it. We're trying to bring it back in. That, I think, will stand you in good stead when it comes to your transition, if you like.
And it's about eras as well, isn't it? You need a bit of luck. I would say that there's times when
you do.
Arsenal might have won some titles, or Chelsea won some titles when everybody else is not quite at it, right? So like Conte won 2, didn't he, back to back about 10 years ago? And that was at a time when Liverpool were definitely not at it. United were way off it, and we blew up because we couldn't get consistent. Yeah, and they won it at a canter. But then Chelsea haven't won it for 7 years again, even though they've thrown a lot of money at it. So what's their philosophy? Look, it ain't easy to win this title when we can list City, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, Arsenal as teams that all fancy their chances at some point, right? Yeah. There's no one else quite with that depth in European football, is there? So it's a hard thing. But look, will we completely fall off? We need still more, because we're going to lose at least 4 lads, probably a keeper we need. and we need to blood all these other lads. So look, it's not the end of an era, but it's an incredibly important summer. That's all.
And there's only so many footballers to go around, and that's where your academies become really, really important in many ways. Let's just move back to Tuesday night, because the tie of the round, I think, had to be in Munich. Bayern Munich won, Celtic won. That doesn't actually tell the whole story, because Celtic were, I thought it was a fantastic display by Celtic, and there was a moment there where you thought, are they going to win this tie? You know, I'm going to push them,
and it was so cruel at the end. It was virtually the last kick of the game when they conceded, and it looked like it was going to extra time, and then I don't know what would have happened. They looked like they were getting a bit tired towards the end, so goodness knows how extra time would have gone, and if it would have gone to penalties. But fair play to Bayern Munich. They lost Kane at half time, and they still found a way, a bit like Madrid. We always say find a way, but yeah, no, it was a valiant effort, but that's all it was in the end, unfortunately.
It was, but I think it did Scottish football a load of good, you know, because
they were just, honestly, the way they set up the tactics, they should, let's be really honest, if they want to be really harsh on them, they should have been more than 1-0. They scored a goal, though. There was mistakes in that Bayern team. I don't think that's a great Bayern team, by the way. And actually, and I'm saying this about one of my lifetime heroes here, I don't think Vinny is the main man when it comes to management. I'll just put that out. They're going to win the title eventually. Harry Kane's going to get one. Vinny's going to get the plaudits. But that Bayern team would put no fear into me, Rich. If I was if you draw them, you're beating them. That's not good enough. Right. So
I tell you what, Rodney, while Dom's speaking, I don't know if you can find out the other matches in the draw. I've said Liverpool have got PSG.
Yeah,
if you could find out the other ones,
I've just got them. It's just come out now. So Liverpool face Paris Saint-Germain. Arsenal take on PSV Eindhoven.
That's a good draw for Arsenal.
It's a very good. Villa will play Club Bruges. Holders Real Madrid will face local rivals Atletico Madrid. And Bayern Munich play Bayern Leverkusen. You don't want one of your own teams, do you, at this stage? That's
can we go get some tickets? Should we go to Madrid and Bayern on a? Let's go. That would be magnificent.
We trip.
I've had Atletico Madrid as the dark horses of this tournament.
I don't think Real Madrid would be happy with that draw. Actually,
they won't be.
No, they'll not be at all. Not be at all. I mean, Arsenal will be. I think will be happy with PSV. I think Villa will be happy with Club Bruges. It's not bad.
Villa got Club Bruges.
Yeah. That's what so Liverpool will face Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16, while Arsenal take on PSV Eindhoven, and Aston Villa will play Club Bruges. Holders Real Madrid face local rivals Atletico Madrid, and Bayern Munich play Bayern Leverkusen in an all-Germany affair. Whoa,
and remind me, can Rashford play in this? Can he now? Can he play on?
Yeah,
he's not cup tied.
He can.
Of course, he's not cup tied.
Let's look forward to the weekend's action. Tonight it's Leicester City versus Brentford. Not one for the purists, but a very important game for Leicester City, I would imagine. It could be a good game actually. 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be at a gig, so I won't be watching that. I'm in Leeds tonight. I'm going to dirty Leeds tonight. I'm going over the Pennites. And then on Saturday, a huge game at Everton. Unfortunately, it's not in their new stadium. It'll be our last time Manchester United visit Everton's old ground, and it's 12:30.
Everton win, I reckon. Moyes wanting a bit of revenge.
It is. It's written all over it.
Can I just add at this point? And this might be now you've mentioned Everton. Went to do the Anfield tour yesterday with the children, and then I said, right, before we head back, let's go and see if we can have a look round Everton's new stadium, because I'm not anti-Everton, and I was interested anyway, having seen the photographs of it online. My goodness, we were approaching it from Barrack Street, I think, which is like directly perpendicular as you're driving up to the stadium. It looked like a UFO had just landed next to the docks. It was absolutely stunning. And unfortunately, I tried to park up and ask the man if we could just have a walk around it, and he said no. Contrary to online reports, it's still a building site, and yes, we've had a test event, but you can't just walk in now and walk around it. It's health and safety, blah blah blah. So we couldn't have it, but you actually enter the area through the old dock wall in various turnstile, well, wide turnstile kind of entrances. They've obviously kept the dock wall. It's probably listed, I would imagine, but you go through this wall, a low wall, and then the stadium is just, it looks magnificent. I know it's cost a lot of money because I think they had to dredge sand and fill in. I think they've had to fill in where the water was, but it's cost £800 million. But the lad on the gate was a Liverpool fan. The guy waving in and out building traffic, and he says, I have to say, it's stunning inside. He said, but he was joking. He said, but the trophy room's not very big. but I'm telling you now, fair play.
I'm telling you now,
it looks stunning.
Yeah, well, 10,000 people went to a test event, an under-18s match against Wigan. It does look stunning. I had to say, Bramley Moor Dock isn't the name that trips off the tongue, I've got to say, but it looks fantastic. And the surrounding area, the people are saying, oh, it's a dump around there. But all that, Dom, it'll be rejuvenated, won't it? It'll be
like City's Eastlands, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we took it from a Commonwealth, but investment in an area like, look, the prediction would be that the fan base, its progress, its development, it's brilliant for the club long term, but it will be a painful end to the season leaving Goodison. And it will also be a weird atmosphere and start to the season because when the home fans don't have it as home yet, the first few years I remember at City is a weird feeling.
Yeah,
you can't create that.
There was a guy interviewed after the test event on TV, and he was tears in his eyes. Really, he says, "I'm going to really miss Goodison." He says, "This is a really lovely stadium, but it's going to really tear me apart when we leave." All the young kids were saying, "Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing! It's the best." And I understand that, but who else? Who better to bring in that new period than actually, if you think about it, David Moyes, because the fans still obviously respect him. And what a great thing for David Moyes to think in September or August, sorry, I'm going to be the manager of Everton going into that new stadium. How exciting was that for David Moyes?
And actually, they're going to be playing Premier League football pretty much because of the way he's navigated them.
Yeah.
At the end of the.
So, I mean, I was thinking yesterday, what a disaster this would have been if Everton had been relegated. And with this, it would have been like, I would have been, I'm going to go with Stoke. I am on the bus to go to the ground to play. But it looks like they've avoided that now. And good, it would have been a disaster.
Moyes keeps that connection as well between old Everton.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
To bring the culture.
That's what I think. That's what I was trying to.
I think it's very important. I mean, I don't think Dyche. Not that I don't want to criticise Dyche, but clearly Moyes is different level, and I actually think that David Moyes, I'd throw it out there, in the last 25 years is probably the best. I think he's the best Premier League manager never to win a title. I honestly, I just think that lad, he's had moments where he's had teams close to relegation with Everton. He had a couple of wobbly moments, but he took them with a workman-like team to 6th, 7th a couple of times. He did what he did at West Ham. Honestly, I know he didn't work at United, and I still stand by the fact that was timing as well as maybe he wasn't quite that level. But that guy,
they didn't give him very long.
He's ever worked with is just what a career.
Can you imagine him in the changing room though, David Moyes? I bet he's a formidable character.
It works, doesn't it? It works. You know, he gets categorised sometimes as a bit of a Sam Allardyce or whatever. That's completely unfair, isn't it? You know, some of his teams play well and he plays effective football like he did against Liverpool the other week. Yeah, it might not be ticky-tacky, but my goodness, there's nothing wrong with the ball behind the fullback and he plays it brilliantly.
Yeah. Talking about David Moyes, his old side, West Ham, go to Arsenal at the 3 o'clock. That will be an interesting result come the end of Saturday afternoon. Tottenham are away at the Tractor Boys. That could be interesting as well. It's an all London affair. Fulham versus Crystal Palace, and Southampton take on Brighton Hove Albion. It's a South Coast derby. Hey, the buckets and spades will be out, and the tea time game is Villa versus Chelsea. That's a tidy game, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sunday it is Newcastle United versus Nottingham Forest. That's tasty. Given Newcastle,
that's a good game.
Weekend, that's a good game. That's your 2:00, and then of course, Sunday, Sky will love this. It is City versus Liverpool. It's one of Sky's big games. It's the 4:30 kickoff live on Sky. Can I say Sky any more times?
Hopefully without Haaland.
Hopefully without Jamie Carragher.
I mean, this is a real tester, isn't it? Because it's going to be a test of whether City can dig in. And it's going to be a real test for Liverpool as to whether they have the confidence to go at City. It's a really interesting game.
I think that's what I said in the message. I think we've just got to go for it. And it'll be interesting who shows signs of nerves. Liverpool have had a few draws, like you say, Everton, Villa. Man, they came back against Villa to get that 2-2, and Núñez should have won the game.
And
so they'll be kicking themselves. This is too many draws, lads. This has happened before in previous seasons when we've lost by 1 or 2 points to Man City. Too many draws. We need this win. And if Slot gets that, if he brings them out and they go for it, then hopefully we'll get that win. But it's not easy to get a win at the Etihad.
But Richard, you were saying about Darwin Núñez, right? And is he good enough? I mean, this is a big game for him, isn't it? It's one of those games where
he won't. Slot now. If you saw his interview yesterday, Slot doesn't openly criticize players, but what he said was that when Núñez missed that opportunity, which wasn't an easy one, it was an opportunity, it was a chance, as Slot says. He says all players miss chances. Salah missed chances. Messi missed chances. We know all players miss chances. Haaland missed chances. But he says what he didn't like was his attitude afterwards for the next 20 minutes. His head dropped, and the effort and the energy that we all say Núñez brings to the table without question went down. And that Slot did mention that. And I think he says, that's what I'm going to be having a word with him. Not about the missed chance, but his attitude after. He seemed to walk off the pitch as well, rather morosely, rather than going to the supporters. So it obviously got to him. And obviously the social media jokes about Núñez, maybe that's getting to him. And he thought, that it's just, they're going to be on my back again. Those 2 late goals at Brentford now seem a long time ago. I mean, he does bring that. He brings the odd flourish. But I think most supporters, even though they love Núñez, will say, listen, we do need a more consistent goal scorer. And should they have taken the 70 million that Saudi offered? Well, it'll probably be back on the table in the summer. And then I think maybe they probably will get tempted, especially if they're seriously thinking about Isak.
And a couple of things just before we go. Dom, can you bring us up to speed? Is the whole legal thing around City now coming to an end? I've seen some news, but I can't recall the detail of it.
Honestly, who knows? It's tiresome, isn't it, for everybody involved in football? I think, well, there was the ruling about sponsorship. That was the main conversation last week, that the Premier League basically couldn't use that argument, without talking legal speak. Basically, that's a subjective one. The main other charges, I mean, where's that going? All I know is that it's going to be coming out soon, but they've been saying this for ages, Rod. So, as I said earlier, I think it's just a question of between now and summer, whenever that is, tell us what's going on. You can read all sorts of fake messaging and stuff on social media. One says that City are going to get released of everything. Others saying that we're going to get docked a zillion points and be banished to the moon. And then, of
course, you can appeal it anyway.
Yeah, but it's tiresome. It's just tiresome for...
It is tiresome.
And
it's funny, Tom. I mean, I am tired of all the commentary that goes around Old Trafford at the moment, which is non-football related, and you somewhat have something not quite serious but similar with this whole situation at City, and you just sort of think, God, I just want to talk about football, and I don't want to talk about the business, the industry. I just want to talk about football and footballers.
Look, I think it's other, call it banter, call it jealousy, a variety of different things. Someone's always going to want to criticize it. I just think I'm bound to say this as a blue. I just think it's wholly unfair that the narrative is always that basically City bought everything. Wholly unfair, right? Yes, of course we bought stuff, and if the grass was a bit too long or Mancini got a brown envelope, come on, it's football. You're telling me that's not been going on for 40 years in United, Liverpool, Real Madrid are still doing whatever they want? Come on. And none of that has, in my opinion, impacted on where the trophies ended up going ultimately. What do they want us to do? Just be little old City and let everybody? Wait, that's not how sport works.
Can I just ask at this point? The financial fair play rules that we have to adhere to, are they the same in La Liga?
Yeah, it's European, isn't it? I mean, there's
do they have to abide by the same rules?
I don't know about the mathematics exactly, but I imagine it's a similar thing. But when you're getting people on free. Right, I know it's the way it goes with end of contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
But, they've never been short of a few quid. I mean, Barcelona were supposedly broke. And Dani Olmo's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Come on.
Right? They're behind schedule, by the way, with the Camp Nou refurbishment. And the problem they've got is they've been playing at the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona, and they were contracted only to be there till May, knowing that after May, the Olympic Stadium is booked out for concerts, and thinking that they would have finished. And apparently now they're in a bit of a problem because they aren't it's not up to date, the work, and they might have to play somewhere else. Even Wembley was being suggested for a El Clasico game, for an El Clasico game. But apparently they've managed to find somewhere for that to be played. But they've got a problem because Camp Nou has obviously come under some issues with its refurbishment. It doesn't look like it's anywhere near being finished yet. They might even struggle to get it ready for September or August rather.
They need some of City's builders in there so that
no, City had it ready there waiting.
We're gonna have to wrap it up, but before I go, a couple of little flyaway bits. But it's 22 years ago, back in 2003, since what was called the Battle of Old Trafford, and that was Ruud and Martin Keown. Do you remember that?
Very well.
And I saw Martin Keown get a bit of stick on TalkSport because he said, "Oh, let bygones be guy," and he shook Ruud's hand and said, "All those shenanigans we had, eh?" He looked like, and they were giving him stick that he'd apologized very easily to Van Nistelrooy and he'd back down, and that was quite funny, him getting some stick for that.
And I think just to put something in context, and I saw this week, and I thought actually it's a good point, is that when Arteta first took over at Arsenal, they finished 15th in the league. Now,
did they?
They did indeed.
With Wenger? Because Wenger had a very poor last season, didn't he?
It was in the lockdown season. And, you sort of think he didn't come under too much stick. That went under the radar. And I think people who are giving United and Amarin stick need to remember sometimes you need to go back to go forward.
Wenger did get some stick, and it was sad, really, because he'd done so much for Arsenal, but he did leave, sadly, under a bit of a cloud because, like I say, if they finish 15th, what a way to finish at your beloved club,
Well, look, there's so much we could have talked about, but we will keep that for another episode of the Theatres of Dreams Extra Time. I've been Rod Maxwell. You've been listening to Dunbar's Richard Irvine, as usual. We'll be back actually in a couple of weeks' time. We're taking a little mid-season break. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks.